Today I want to show you on a whiteboard a way, or what we find out is a much more better way to resolve problem. So when we have problem in organization, and let's say that this is an organization, the first thing that we are going to do is, as we were taught, is to break the problem into smaller chunks. So we will break the problem into smaller chunks. Then we are going to try to resolve a problem per area, hoping that once we will finish to resolve this problem and that 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 problem, we resolve the problem. This is the most classical analysis that we are using. Now, so let's say that each one of those elements, let's say that we are trying to resolve a communication issue in a company. So why communication is not working, why everyone complains about communication. Fair, common problem. So if we're going to use this approach, we are going to go department, every purple circle is going to be a department. So we are going to go department by department and try to figure out how we can improve the communication in the department, hoping that eventually everything will be tied together and we have a solution. Now, department might be too high, so we are going to break department into groups and try to do the work within groups. Common analysis. Let's break the problem, resolve it, and bring it back. So the problem with this approach is that we are diving into certain element of an organization, and for us, organization is a type of a system. So every time that you hear system, it's not like a software system, it's actually a people system. So organization equal system. So the problem with this approach is that in reality, those departments are not in a silo. In reality, there is a web of connections. I don't know how to capture them all, but you understand what I'm saying. So there is a web of connection that actually creates some kind of a system. And someone, when he created this system or this organization, had in mind how this department A, is going to interact with department B, with department C. Obviously we are missing a line, and so on. So there is two elements here. First, there is causal impact. So is A will impact B, B in return will impact C, B will impact C, C will impact B, and there is like a web of connections, a web of impacts between elements in the system. Secondly, there is an information flow that happened here as well. I don't have any choice for using the green one. So there is an information that flows between A and B, and there is an information that flows then between B and C, and there is information flow between C and B, and there's information flow between B and B and I don't know, we didn't name it, but there are like on top of the causes, there are lines of information flow that are not necessarily the same. And this is part of a management system as well. This is part of the system that the organization is using. Now, if you're doing the reductionist, if you are just doing analysis on each one of the problem of the issue by itself, you are missing all the black and all the green lines that exist here, which means you are not taking into account how A interact or impact B, and which data flow between A and B and A and C and C and B and B and D and D and E and like all of those together. And that's a main problem, because if you do this approach, if you try to draw all of those lines and understand what's going on in this flow, you'll find out that there are so many problems in the system itself, in the way that we set up those parts and in the way that those parts are causing one each other to do something, or in the way that the information flow between them. And if there is any flow, I don't have a red one, but if there is any flow here or here or here or here, any flow on those lines, any defects, it means that something is wrong with the system. Something is wrong in the way that you set up the system. And it doesn't matter if you're going to resolve A or B or C or D or E or F, because as long as you didn't resolve the defects in the interaction between them, the defects in the system of the organization, you're not going to resolve any problem. Because even if you're going to resolve what's wrong with A, as long as the interaction is wrong, the problem didn't went away. The problem will pop up in a different way. So what we suggest you is when you have a problem, when you want to resolve it, do two phases. The first phase is synthesis, and synthesis, it means that we want to look at the system as a whole, and we want to better understand how elements in the system are working one with each other. Again, causes, information flow, there are other elements, but those are the two important ones. Do this synthesis and trying to find out, are there any flaws or defects in the system as a system? If you find any defects in the system, don't go to analysis. Try to fix the problem in the system and see whether fixing the problem in the system resolve the issue, and you will find out that it resolving the issues in much better way than just doing the analysis. But sometimes you find out that the system is fine and there are no defects in the system, but you still have a problem. So when you in this junction, then you have to go to analysis. Then you have to go to B and dive into B and do analysis in B. Even if you're going to B and B has three main components, we would strongly recommend you to start with, first of all, synthesis of what's going on in B, because there might be systematic problem in the way that B was set up. And if you don't find any issue in the system of B, then go and do reductionism on any element in department B, and so on. So that's all. Pretty long, but if you follow this approach of synthesis and then analysis, you will be surprised to see how many issues that you never thought that exist in a system, or you weren't even aware that exist in your system or in your organization, are actually there, and they are holding you back for moving forward for a long time. That's all. Thanks.